Hi, everybody. I'm Brett, the lead artist slash only artist at Studio Hipsword, and this is the first ever devlog for HipWitch. Now, you may be wondering what HipWitch is, and, well, spoiler warning, it's a video game, but outside of that, well, that's what we've spent the first few months of development discovering, and this devlog is the story of how we started from nothing and got to our first ever proof of concept demo. So if that sounds interesting to you, please continue to watch the video with your eyeballs. Now, if you follow us on social media, links in the description, you might be aware that up until recently we were working on this epic strategy RPG called Project Ashes, and that it's now on hold. To cut a long story short, we figured that something that huge and epic and expansive was not the greatest choice for a first-time dev studio. We didn't want to take all of our passion and ambition and throw it at something we weren't ready to do yet and burn out on it, even if that project was cool as hell. So we took a step back and decided to spend some time making something smaller as a way to build experience with the whole process of game dev from start to release. Thus, HipWitch was born. The totally blank canvas of having a totally new project can be very daunting. Like, it's hard to know exactly where to start, but because we were just coming off of Ashes, we almost immediately had a sort of general design philosophy, which was like, don't make it like Ashes. I can probably sum it up best with the words manageable and malleable. We quickly decided to make a game we felt confident finishing within 7 to 9 months. So if our ideas were too high production value, or they couldn't be scaled down to account for our tight time frame, we just kind of had to go with something else. We actually threw around quite a few ideas, like we considered doing a Hades-like hack and slasher, but we figured that getting the game feel right and making the sandbox deep might be slightly out of our scope. We considered a visual novel, or like a dating sim, but maybe it's about ninjas. But ultimately we had a craving to build something a little more gamey and responsive and tactile. We considered a platformer too. I mean, we had experimented with platformers with our Game Jam game in 2020, Legs Out of Line. But in the end, we decided to stick with top-down perspective games because, well, they're malleable. A top-down perspective game can fit pretty much any genre you can think of. So our programmer could start laying down the foundations of what would become HipWitch. And if we changed our mind on what it was about, we'd probably still be able to use that base. It was for similar reasons that we elected to set our game in, generic grassland nature, as that location can fit any kind of setting, It can be grounded in reality, or maybe you can put zombies there, or aliens, or frog people. It will still make sense. But in the end, we didn't actually end up properly concepting 3 or 4 wildly different ideas for a game. We actually landed on something we really liked pretty quickly, and we've spent all of our time so far figuring out how to make that work. For years, our producer slash writer slash whatever it is that he does, Sailor, has been inspired by this artwork from the artist Woonyoung Jung. I'm really sorry for not knowing how to say that, but this guy is very talented, and he makes this super evocative and lovely modern witch road trip art. There's such a youth and playfulness to it, and we wanted to steal this essence right out of his heart and make it our own, maybe add a little more 90s nostalgia instead of smartphones and Vine and the word finna. Yeah. So here we were with young witches, the 90s, nature, and short, as in a short game. So we started looking into 90s fashion, witch subcultures, concepting mechanics, deciding on art tools and art style, programming basic actions, designing the open world, brainstorming a story, building a development roadmap, and We also began sharing our kernel of an idea with our composer Yogev, who hit us with some awesome concept tracks. These parallel lines of development would eventually converge to become our first proof of concept demo. And the converging happened real fast. Now, cramming months of pretty disparate work together into one cohesive whole within a couple of days is pretty mental and just a touch hectic. It wasn't too long before we realized we'd been pretty optimistic about how much we could cram into this little demo within the time constraints. Our programmer, Reese, who was already busy building the entire game, became sort of an impromptu Unity teacher for Sailor and I who had no idea what we were doing, but we needed all hands on deck for this. It wasn't unlike doing a game jam, like trying to force in all this first draft dialogue and fixing the collisions and scratching our head every time the game broke for no reason. But miraculously, after a whack-a-mole gauntlet of bug fixing and cutting a bunch of stuff, we managed to finish our demo, and the good news is, I think it's kind of cute. I'm really excited to explore the potential we've just caught a glimpse of. Real quick, if you're watching this video on the Lunch Billion channel, please note that all future devlogs will be on Studio HipSword's YouTube, so please go subscribe there. Okay, bye!